let's unpack this. Imagine, for a moment, having a personal fast track to truly understanding how to keep your brain sharp, vibrant, and, well, incredibly resilient, especially as you navigate life beyond 60.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people are thinking about, isn't it? Staying sharp.
Absolutely. And today we're diving deep into some truly compelling research and firsthand experience that reveals how everything, really, from the strength in your legs to the very nature of your daily thoughts, can make a profound difference.
It's fascinating how interconnected it all is.
It really is. Our deep dive today is titled The Therapist Handbook Talk on Brain, NeuroFlex ACT, and Leg Strength After 60.
Okay.
Our mission basically is simple. We're going to explore how seemingly distinct elements like physical activity, the flexibility of your mind, even specific nutrients aren't just vaguely good for you.
Right, not just general health advice.
Exactly. They're intricately wired together. They work in concert to support optimal brain health, cognitive maintenance, and frankly, remarkable longevity. We're talking about unlocking your brain's incredible inherent ability to adapt and grow, not just into your 60s, but, far beyond.
That's the exciting part, the potential for growth at any age.
And this isn't about grand sweeping gestures. It's about understanding the fascinating science of small, consistent choices that, when layered together, add up to truly powerful, lasting change.
Small steps, big impact. I like that.
So let's kick things off with a foundational concept, one that honestly revolutionizes how we understand our own minds. Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, this is huge.
For generations, the prevailing thought was that once you hit adulthood, your brain was pretty much, a finished product, set in stone.
Right, like the wiring was done, fixed.
But the research and experience has completely flipped that script. Neuroplasticity is your brain's extraordinary capacity to actually rewire itself. Think of it as a living, dynamic network, constantly adapting.
Like a city map that's always being updated, new roads built, old ones may be fading away.
That's a great analogy. It's not a rigid, fixed machine. It's more like a vibrant, evolving landscape where new pathways are constantly being built, old ones reinforced, and some even gracefully retired. There's a classic, simple principle often quoted in neuroscience that encapsulates this beautifully. Neurons that fire together, wire together.
Ah, yes, the Hebbian principle. So fundamental.
It vividly illustrates how, with repetition, the connections between your brain cells, your neurons become stronger, faster, more efficient.
Like carving a path in the woods. The more you walk it, the clearer it gets.
Exactly. It's why practicing a new skill, like learning a musical instrument or picking up a new language, or even just consistently thinking a certain thought, makes those specific neural pathways more deeply ingrained. They become superhighways for information.
Right. Practice makes permanent, in a very literal neural sense.
Conversely, the use it or lose it principle absolutely applies here too. If you stop using certain connections, they can weaken, becoming less efficient or even, dissolving over time.
Pruning the connections that aren't needed anymore, it's efficient.
This isn't just wishful thinking. The research and experience confirms your brain is designed to change throughout your entire life. It's an incredibly adaptable organ, actively updating its map of the world and of you based on what you do, how you feel, and what you choose to focus on.
Which is incredibly hopeful, really.
It's truly empowering. And that amazing adaptability, that plasticity, is the bedrock of vibrant brain health and sustained cognitive function, especially as we get older.
Absolutely. And this inherent adaptability, this neuroplasticity, is crucial when we start talking about how our minds operate automatically, often without us even consciously realizing it.
The automatic pilot stuff.
Exactly. You see, your brain, in essence, has two primary operating modes, almost like two distinct systems working in tandem. One mode is slow, deliberate, and logical. We can call this your internal detective.
Okay, the thoughtful part.
Yeah, this is the part of your brain that's curious, analytical, thoughtful. It takes its time, weighing evidence, carefully solving problems, thinking things through methodically. It's the part of you that pauses before acting.
Like deciding what to invest in, or planning a trip.
Precisely. Then there's the other system, what psychologist and Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman famously coined as System 1.
Thinking fast and slow. Great stuff.
Indeed. This system isn't slow at all. It's lightning fast, automatic, and incredibly instinctive. Think of it less like a detective and more like your brain's personal bodyguard, constantly on patrol, tirelessly scanning for threats, ready to spring into action without a moment's hesitation.
The gut reaction part.
You got it. We often refer to this as your survival engineer, and it is fundamentally wired for protection. Its primary overarching job is to spot potential threats, quickly connect the dots, often based on past experiences, and try its best to keep you safe from harm.
That distinction between the internal detective and the personal bodyguard, the survival engineer, is so insightful. It immediately makes me think of those moments when I react without even thinking.
Yeah.
Like jumping back from a loud noise.
Exactly, that kind of thing. Pure survival instinct.
But what happens when that otherwise brilliant protective mechanism, that survival engineer, starts to become, well, a bit overzealous or perhaps glitchy, as you put it earlier? How does it get stuck in those repetitive patterns you mentioned, those deepening loops?
That's a fantastic question, because this is where the survival engineer, in its earnest zeal to keep you safe, can actually get stuck in repetitive patterns that aren't serving you in the present.
It's like a program running in the background that needs an update.
Kind of, yeah. Imagine it running an old safety program, a program that used to be incredibly helpful, maybe in childhood, but now it's stuck on repeat, looping the same message over and over. Danger, 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 even when there's no real threat in your current environment.
Okay, I can see that.
These become what we call deepening loops, repetitive cycles of thoughts, sensations, and behaviors that are often rooted in past perceived threats. It's not a malfunction in the sense of a broken part. It's simply your brain generalizing threats.
Generalizing. Like seeing danger where it isn't anymore.
Exactly. For instance, if one scary dog in the past caused a strong fear response, your brain might automatically generalize that to all dogs are scary, creating a, 4-lane mental freeway between dog and fear with no speed limit.
Yeah.
Your system just keeps going down that well-worn path because it feels safer, even if it limits your life.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense.
This phenomenon often gives rise to what we might playfully call the thought dictator.
The thought dictator, I like that. Describes it perfectly sometimes.
Doesn't it? These are those fast, automatic, and frequently fear-based thoughts that feel less like suggestions and more like urgent commands. They don't leave much room for flexibility or nuance. They're declarations, ultimatums.
You must do this or you're going to fail. That kind of voice.
Precisely. And when you're fused with these thoughts, meaning you believe them implicitly and automatically without question, they don't feel like mere internal chatter. They feel like absolute, undeniable truth leading to automatic actions.
So you just react based on the thought without questioning it.
Yes. If that internal dictator screams, you are a complete failure, it doesn't feel like just a harsh inner voice. It feels like fact, prompting you to perhaps withdraw, avoid, or even give up. Your body might even start moving to escape now before your conscious mind has fully processed what's happening. It's that fast.
Whoa.
And this brings us to another critical insight. Feelings aren't facts, they're signals. This is so important to remember.
Feelings aren't facts. Say more about that.
Emotions are simply neurochemical signals of a perceived threat, whether that threat is real or imagined in the present moment. Your body then responds accordingly, preparing you for fight, flight, or freeze. Your heart races, muscles tense.
The classic stress response.
Exactly. Your body isn't lying to you or betraying you. It's just responding to what your brain's survival engineer believes is happening, even if that belief is based on outdated information from past experiences. It's always trying to keep you safe, but sometimes its map needs updating.
That's incredibly clarifying. So, if our brain's natural protective instincts, our survival engineer, can sometimes get stuck on danger or dictate our actions based on old maps, how does NeuroFlex ACT, this innovative approach you mentioned, actually help us unstick those loops and update that map without feeling like we're constantly fighting our own nature? Because it sounds like we don't want to suppress these instincts, right? We need to work with them.
Precisely. You've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly where NeuroFlex ACT, pronounced like the word ACT, which stands for Neuroflexibility-Focused Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, comes into play.
Okay, NeuroFlex ACT. Got it.
It's an approach meticulously designed to help you work with your brain, rather than engage in a constant, exhausting battle against it. NeuroFlex ACT skillfully blends two incredibly powerful forces: the science of neuroplasticity, which we've just discussed, your brain's amazing capacity to literally rewire itself.
Right, the neurons that fire together stuff.
Exactly that. And psychological flexibility, which is your ability to respond more freely, adaptively, and intentionally to life's challenges. Instead of being run by those automatic fear-based loops, you learn to consciously choose your response, even when those old alarms are ringing loudly.
Choose your response, even when you feel scared or anxious.
Yeah, that's the core idea. The profound beauty of ACT is that it's explicitly designed to leverage your brain's natural neuroplasticity. It does this by focusing intensely on behavioral flexibility. That's your capacity to choose new actions, even when those old ingrained feelings of discomfort or fear are present.
So doing things differently, even when it feels hard.
And critically, it emphasizes values-based living, which means anchoring your actions, your choices, your daily steps in what genuinely matters most to you, your deepest purpose. What are you really about? What do you want your life to stand for?
Connecting actions to what's important.
Yes. And what's truly fascinating is that every ACT skill you learn, every single time you choose to respond differently to an old trigger or a difficult thought, you are generating the consistent experiences your brain uses as raw material for growth.
Ah, so you're feeding it new data.
You are quite literally providing your brain with new, updated data, helping it build new, more helpful and more flexible pathways. It's about showing your survival engineer that there's a new, more accurate map to follow, one that's aligned with your present reality and your deepest values, not just past perceived threats. You are training your brain one conscious act at a time.
Training the brain. I like the sound of that. Very active. So, we've explored the incredible adaptability of your mind and how it can sometimes get stuck in old patterns, but also how we can actually work with it using approaches like NeuroFlex ACT. But what if I told you that the very foundation of your physical body, specifically your legs, holds a surprisingly powerful key to unlocking even more brain health and cognitive resilience?
Now, this is a really interesting connection, not one people immediately think of usually.
Right. This next connection truly blew me away when I first encountered the research and experience. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? Legs and brain.
It does seem a bit disconnected at first glance.
Yet studies have consistently shown that low muscle strength, and specifically leg power, can significantly shorten lifespan and reduce cognitive function in older adults. We're not just talking about overall physical well-being here. This is a direct, measurable link to your brain's vitality and longevity.
Wow. Okay, so actual strength matters, not just general fitness.
Exactly. Yeah. Consider this compelling example. A study involving older female twins, which is particularly brilliant because it allows researchers to control for genetic and early developmental factors.
Right, isolating the environmental or behavioral impact.
Precisely. They found that greater leg power was strongly associated with an improved cognitive trajectory over a remarkable 10-year period.
10 years, that's significant.
Isn't it? And this isn't about being born with strong legs. It powerfully suggests that leg power can be modified and that doing so can profoundly improve how your brain ages.
So it's something you can actively influence. That's key.
Absolutely. And the evidence doesn't stop there. The Rush Memory and Aging Project, another highly respected and significant body of research, has consistently found a strong protective effect of muscle strength on cognitive aging.
Consistent findings across different studies are always compelling.
Definitely. Furthermore, if you look at national data from older adults in the U.S., specifically the NHA-NANIS 1999-2002 dataset, it was found that quadriceps strength, that's the large muscle group at the front of your thigh, the quads,
along with overall physical activity, independently predicted cognitive function. So we're talking about direct, measurable, and highly compelling associations here. Your leg muscles aren't just for getting around. They are deeply, intricately connected to the health, resilience, and long-term performance of your brain.
That's truly fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
The question then becomes why? Why is this connection between leg strength and brain health so profound? What are the mechanisms at play?
Exactly. What's going on under the hood?
It goes much deeper than just being able to get up and move more, although that's part of it, of course. There are remarkable neurobiological processes involved. One of the most important players in this story is something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF.
BDNF. Okay, I've heard that mentioned before. What is it exactly?
Think of BDNF as your brain's most powerful fertilizer, or perhaps its personal growth hormone. It's a crucial neurotrophin, basically a protein that supports the survival, development, and function of your neurons.
Brain fertilizer. Got it. BDNF is directly involved in neuroplasticity itself, helping your brain form brand new connections, a process called synaptogenesis, and strengthening existing ones, known as long-term potentiation. It also plays a vital role in keeping your existing brain cells healthy and alive.
This is super important for learning, memory, brain health in general.
Absolutely critical. And when BDNF levels are reduced, it's consistently linked to decreased brain functions like memory, concentration, and learning.
Okay, so we want more BDNF. How does leg strength fit in?
Well, what's truly remarkable and perhaps the most mind-blowing insight is the direct link to exercise. The research and experience shows that BDNF messenger RNA and protein expression significantly increase in human skeletal muscle after exercise.
In the muscle, not just the brain.
Yes, in the muscle tissue itself. Now, while muscle-derived BDNF might not directly flood your bloodstream from the muscle in large amounts, its very presence in muscle tissue is a powerful signal. It indicates a deep dynamic crosstalk between your muscles and your brain.
Your muscles are literally talking to your brain.
In a chemical language, yes. Your muscles are actively communicating with your nervous system. And crucially, resistance training, specifically lifting weights, especially under challenging or high-load conditions, has been shown to powerfully upregulate serum BDNF concentrations in your bloodstream.
So lifting weights boosts BDNF levels circulating around.
Exactly. And this increase in circulating BDNF is then directly linked to improved executive functions, those higher-level cognitive skills like planning, problem-solving, decision-making.
The stuff the internal detective does.
Precisely. And even positive changes in the volume of your hippocampus.
Wait, you mentioned the hippocampus earlier as that brain region vital for memory and learning and how it can shrink with age or in conditions like dementia. So if resistance training can increase BDNF and increase BDNF is linked to changes in hippocampal volume, are you saying that strengthening our muscles, particularly our legs, can directly impact the health of our memory centers? That's huge.
Exactly. That's precisely the implication the research and experience points to. The hippocampus is indeed vital for memory and learning, and its volume can shrink with age or in conditions like dementia.
So there's a way to potentially fight that shrinkage.
It appears to be a very powerful way. The powerful message here is that while resting levels of BDNF naturally decline with age, exercise can elevate these levels regardless of your age, hinting at this profound muscle-brain crosstalk that can actively defy some of the typical effects of aging on the brain.
Regardless of age. That's fantastic news.
It really is. Your actions, specifically your physical activity, can directly influence the health and function of such a critical brain region.
Okay, mind officially blown. BDNF from leg day.
You could put it that way. And the story goes beyond just BDNF, as important as it is. There are other powerful factors at play that contribute to this muscle-brain connection.
Oh, there's more.
Definitely. For instance, insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1. Both aerobic exercise like walking or cycling and anaerobic exercise like strength training increase IGF-1 expression.
IGF-1.
Yeah.
What does that do?
Well, IGF-1 plays a functional role in activating vital cellular processes throughout your body, including protecting your cells against stress. Think of it as another protective agent.
Nice. So exercise brings out the protective cavalry.
In a way, yes. Furthermore, the very act of muscle contraction during exercise promotes something called mitochondrial adaptations, essentially making the energy factories within your cells, including your brain cells, more efficient.
Better energy production. Makes sense.
It also leads to vascular adaptations, which means improved blood flow throughout your body critically, including to your brain. More blood flow means more oxygen, more nutrients.
Okay, that's a more obvious connection, but clearly important.
Very. Exercise also triggers the secretion of a whole cascade of crucial growth factors and beneficial signaling molecules called myokines, released from muscle. It activates autophagy.
Autophagy, isn't that like cellular cleanup?
Exactly. It's like your cell's internal cleanup crew, diligently removing damaged components and recycling them. All these processes work synergistically to chronically lower systemic inflammatory signaling throughout your body.
Lower inflammation.
That has huge
For brain health, right? Chronic inflammation is linked to so many problems.
Profoundly beneficial for overall brain health, yes. Chronic inflammation is a known contributor to cognitive decline. We also have fascinating peptides like MOPSC secreted during exercise, which seems to play a role in mitigating age-dependent physical and cognitive decline.
Wow, it just keeps going. MOTSC.
And here's another surprising detail. Lactate. Often simply thought of as a byproduct of muscle exertion during intense exercise, the burn.
Yeah, lactic acid.
Well, lactate produced by your muscles can actually serve as a direct fuel source for the human brain.
No way. The brain can use lactate for energy.
It sure can. It's truly a whole symphony of biological processes working in concert, powerfully orchestrated by physical activity, especially resistance training involving large muscle groups like the legs.
So if I'm understanding this correctly for you, our listener, especially if you're over 60 and deeply invested in your brain health and longevity, this means that actively maintaining and building strength in your legs through consistent exercise is a powerful, proactive step.
Absolutely. It's not just about mobility, it's about cognition.
It helps protect against conditions like dementia or Alzheimer's, which are specifically associated with that hippocampal shrinkage we talked about. The research and experience consistently shows that stronger leg muscles are positively associated with larger hippocampal volumes. This isn't just theoretical. It's direct, tangible evidence of the brain-boosting power of your legs.
It's a very compelling picture.
Now, the really good news is that you absolutely don't need to become a competitive weightlifter or a bodybuilder to reap these profound benefits.
Right. Oh, definitely not. Consistency is much more important than intensity, especially when starting out.
The research and experience points to specific leg strengthening exercises that can make a real, measurable difference, and they are accessible for almost everyone. You can start simply. Consider sit-to-stand exercises, literally just sitting down and standing up from a chair.
A fundamental movement, and you can do it anywhere.
As you get stronger, you can progress by holding light dumbbells, wearing a weighted vest, or even using resistance bands. Reverse lunges are excellent for working each leg independently, and you can easily modify them by not going as low initially.
Good point. Start shallow, go deeper over time, focus on form.
Calf raises, simply coming up on your toes while holding onto a chair or wall for balance, effectively target your lower leg muscles. Don't forget hip extensions, which can be progressed with resistance bands around your ankles or light ankle weights.
Working the glutes and hamstrings, also very important.
And knee flexions, or hamstring curls where you stand tall and bend your leg at the knee, are also important.
Balancing out the work on the front of the thigh.
The key, and this is crucial, is to start slowly and consistently. The recommendation often begins with just one set of 8 to 12 repetitions for each exercise, performed twice per week.
Twice a week. That feels manageable for most people.
Right. The beauty is you can gradually progress as you feel stronger, adding more repetitions, more sets, or more resistance over time. The most important takeaway here is that it's truly never too late to begin.
Never too late. The brain and muscles retain their ability to adapt.
You will be genuinely surprised by how quickly you start to feel stronger and more capable in your day-to-day activities, and this physical strength will be quietly and powerfully supporting your brain in ways you might not have ever imagined. It's an investment that pays dividends for your entire system.
Well said. A true investment in future well-being. Building on that incredible, perhaps even surprising link between leg strength and brain health, let's now expand our view even further. We'll see how many other seemingly disparate activities truly intertwine to contribute to robust cognitive maintenance.
Okay, so it's not just leg day then.
No, definitely not just leg day, though that's clearly important. It's genuinely a holistic symphony where each instrument plays a vital part in nurturing your brain. Consider, for example, the power of curiosity and creativity.
Curiosity and creativity. How do they fit in neurobiologically?
Well, the research and experience shows that cultivating a curious mind directly enhances your creative capacity. Curiosity fosters an exploratory spirit and ignites the desire to learn and delve into new ideas, which is absolutely essential for developing original thoughts and solutions, even when there's uncertainty about the outcome.
So being willing to explore the unknown.
Exactly. It's about being willing to pursue new mental paths, to try new things. And this isn't just about feeling good or being intellectually stimulated. There's a powerful, tangible neurological impact.
Here we go. What happens in the brain?
Curiosity actually enhances activity in your hippocampus, which, as we mentioned, is absolutely crucial for memory formation.
Back to the hippocampus again.
It's a key player. This boost in activity helps with memory formation and retention. And what's fascinating is it can even help you retain unrelated material that you encounter while your curiosity is piqued. Your brain is just more receptive overall.
Wow, like a learning amplifier.
Sort of, yeah. It also actively engages dopaminergic pathways, which are linked to reward, flexibility, and make you less reactive to uncertainty or novelty. When you're curious, your brain releases dopamine, literally strengthening the neural pathways for exploration and learning, making that experience feel rewarding and encouraging you to do it again.
Dopamine. So curiosity feels good, And reinforces itself neurologically.
Precisely. Most importantly, curiosity directly promotes neuroplasticity, helping your brain gracefully break established neural patterns and form new beneficial connections, especially during times of change when adaptability is paramount.
So if curiosity and creativity are so neurologically beneficial, how can we actively inject more of that into our lives? What are some practical, actionable steps beyond just saying, be curious? Because that's a bit vague.
That's a great practical question. The idea is to deliberately engage in activities that challenge you and expose you to novel experiences. Novelty is key for the brain.
Okay, like what kind of activities?
For instance, learning a new language has been shown to increase gray matter volume in the brain, strengthen white matter connections, and improve problem-solving, creative thinking, and even multitasking abilities.
Learning a language. That's a commitment, but clearly powerful.
It is. Or playing music, not just listening, but actively playing, promotes neuroplasticity, can help reduce cognitive decline, and even gives a measurable boost to your mood and immune system.
Playing an instrument, yeah. Good for the brain.
Engaging in games, whether they're card games, board games, or specific brain training games, can slow cognitive decline and improve memory and pattern recognition skills.
So game night is good for you.
It can be. Even something as simple as exploring new places, taking a different route to the grocery store, or trying a new recipe can provide novel stimuli that keep your brain engaged and actively learning. It's about gently nudging yourself out of routine.
Small doses of novelty. I like that.
Moving beyond individual pursuits, social activity and engagement with the arts play a truly critical role in building what's called cognitive reserve, or CR.
Cognitive reserve. What exactly is that?
Think of cognitive reserve as your brain's inherent resilience to neuropathological damage. It's its ability to cope with age-related changes or even disease processes without showing outward symptoms of cognitive decline.
Like a buffer against brain problems.
Exactly, a buffer or a backup capacity. What's compelling is that individuals with higher levels of education, IQ, or occupational attainment often have a lower risk of developing clinical symptoms of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. The cognitive reserve hypothesis suggests that a higher CR can actually delay the onset of clinical symptoms of these diseases, even if significant brain pathology is present.
So you could have the underlying brain changes but still function well for longer if you have high CR.
That's the idea. It means you might maintain robust cognitive function for longer, even with underlying brain changes, if you have built a stronger reserve through lifelong learning and engagement.
How do we build this reserve then, besides formal education?
A holistic approach, like social prescribing, which encourages participation in non-medical community activities, actively helps develop this cognitive reserve through creative lifelong learning, whether in community settings or even right at home.
Social prescribing. Like a doctor suggesting joining a club or volunteering.
Precisely. The research and experience particularly highlights art on prescription, showing that engaging in arts and creativity can be a powerful pathway to hope and a safe prescription for brain health, especially for people living with dementia or those at risk.
Art is medicine.
In a very real sense. Actively engaging in activities like making music, writing, dancing, or crafts has been shown to enhance a person's mood, improve overall mental health, and can even help with conditions like PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Social activities like drama clubs, community gardening, and volunteering are critical components that consistently contribute to improved health and well-being outcomes.
The social connection piece seems really important too.
Absolutely vital. It's also crucial to note that loss of functional capacity can, sadly, lead to social isolation, which itself is a significant risk factor for cognitive decline. So actively maintaining social activity is absolutely key for a comprehensive, long-term approach to brain health.
Makes sense. We're social creatures, after all.
Indeed.
Absolutely. And in this intricate symphony of brain boosters, we simply cannot overlook two truly crucial elements that are, in their own right, headliners for neuroplasticity and cognitive maintenance: sleep and nutrition.
The fundamentals.
Yeah.
Can't skip these.
Let's talk about the brain's night shift first. Sleep. The research and experience consistently shows that sufficient quality sleep is absolutely crucial for both your brain and your entire body. Most adults need a solid 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night.
Though sadly, many people consistently get less than they need in our busy world. It's a real challenge.
It really is. But when you commit to getting enough quality sleep, it offers significant tangible benefits, including dramatically boosting memory recall, reducing mental fatigue that can drag you down, and regulating your metabolism.
Memory consolidation happens during sleep, right? cleaning out the brain junk.
Exactly. The glymphatic system is more active, clearing out waste products. Conversely, chronic sleep deprivation can have immediate and profoundly negative impacts on things like your reaction times, your decision-making abilities, and your overall mental and emotional states.
We've all felt that foggy brain after a bad night's sleep.
For sure. There's also a powerful bi-directional relationship at play here with physical activity. Higher physical activity levels are consistently associated with better sleep quality.
Exercise helps you sleep better.
And, interestingly, better sleep quality can actually predict higher levels of physical activity.
And sleeping better gives you more energy to exercise. A virtuous cycle.
It's a truly virtuous cycle where improving one often naturally helps to improve the other. They feed into each other beautifully.
So important to prioritize sleep.
And then, of course, there's the critical aspect of fueling the mind: nutrition. A brain-healthy diet is paramount. The research and experience emphasizes a diet rich in antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids, which can significantly boost memory and cognitive function.
Food as brain fuel. What specifics should we focus on?
Let's look at some specific nutrients and compounds that are mentioned as playing a vital role. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly docosahexaenoic acid or DHA, are essential.
Found in fatty fish, walnuts, flax seeds.
Right. They actively support cognitive processes and provide powerful neuroprotective effects, shielding your brain cells. DHA, in particular, is crucial for your brain's glucose uptake, its energy source, and for preventing oxidative stress, which can damage cells.
So good fats are good for the brain structure and function.
Definitely. Then we have catechin polyphenols, found in certain foods like green tea, berries, and cocoa.
Ah, antioxidants.
Yes, these compounds modulate mechanisms involved in learning, memory, and can help mitigate cognitive decline. They act as powerful antioxidants, working to neutralize harmful reactive oxygen species and free radicals in the body, protecting your cells from damage.
So colorful fruits, veggies, green tea, good stuff.
Another truly fascinating compound is curcumin, found in turmeric, which has the remarkable ability to cross the blood-brain barrier.
Turmeric. Very interesting.
The research and experience indicates it significantly reduces oxidative stress and has been shown to increase BDNF, our brain fertilizer.
Boosting BDNF again?
And also boost CAM-AP response element binding proteins, which are important markers of synaptic plasticity and neurogenesis, essentially.
Yeah.
They help your brain build new connections. Curcumin also plays a role in modulating chronic inflammation.
Anti-inflammatory and pro-neuroplasticity. Powerful combo.
And while the provided research didn't detail specific mechanisms for vitamins D3, K2, B12, amino acids, and protein as extensively, the general concept of a balanced diet providing essential nutrients for overall brain health is strongly supported.
Right, the basics are still crucial. Getting enough protein, B vitamins, vitamin D, these all needed for optimal function.
For example, adequate protein intake is crucial for maintaining muscle mass, which, as we've just explored, is directly linked to robust brain health and cognitive function. It all ties together.
It really does. The muscle-brain connection via nutrition, too.
On the flip side, we absolutely have to caution against unhealthy diets. Diets consistently high in saturated fat and refined sugar can have profound negative consequences for brain health and functioning.
The standard Western diet isn't doing our brains any favors, generally.
Sadly, no. The research and experience has consistently shown that such diets can significantly reduce spatial learning and BDNF levels, which researchers interpret as direct impairments in synaptic plasticity and motor learning.
So, junk food literally makes it harder to learn and build new brain pathways.
Seems like it. Chronic consumption of these unhealthy diets is also strongly associated with an increased risk of cognitive decline and ultimately dementia, often mediated by the development of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes.
The link between metabolic health and brain health is undeniable.
Absolutely. So, what you choose to put into your body directly impacts the vitality, resilience, and longevity of your brain, making nutrition a fundamental cornerstone of any comprehensive approach to cognitive well-being.
Fuel your body, fuel your brain. It's that interconnected. Now let's tie all these powerful threads together, from brain adaptability to leg strength, curiosity, social connection, and optimal nutrition, and dive deeper into the NeuroFlex ACT framework.
Okay, bringing you back to the psychological flexibility piece.
Exactly. This is where we learn how to truly put these insights into action and literally help you rewire your brain for greater resilience. The core, profound message here is simple. You don't need to fight your brain.
Which is such a relief to hear, honestly.
Isn't it? In fact, fighting it often makes things worse, creates more tension. You just need to work with it. Remember, your brain isn't a fixed machine. It's a living, changing, adaptable network, constantly updating itself.
Working with it, not against it.
Precisely. ACT principles, like creating space from your thoughts, a process we call diffusion, are so powerful because they allow you to loosen the grip that unhelpful or fear-based thoughts have over your behavior.
Diffusion. Separating yourself from the thoughts.
Kind of. Instead of being completely caught up in a thought, believing it as absolute truth, you learn to notice it. You learn to say, perhaps internally, with a gentle tone, "Think you mind," acknowledging the thought's presence without necessarily believing or acting on it.
Thanks for the input, brain, but I'm choosing differently.
Something like that, yeah. This allows you to then choose to act from your deepest values instead of being driven by your fears. This process helps you dethrone that thought dictator we talked about.
Right, the bossy inner voice.
By simply observing it, by noticing that it's just a thought, rather than fusing with it and letting it control your every move. When you fuse with that thought dictator, its fast, automatic, fear-based declarations feel like commands you must follow. But when you create that space, you genuinely realize you have a choice, a powerful moment of agency.
That concept of diffusion and creating space is incredibly insightful, almost like having an internal pause button. So how do we actually do that? What are the practical tools for stepping back from the mental chaos and making that shift from being trapped by thoughts to simply observing them?
That's where we engage what we might call your observer mode and integrate anchoring practices.
Observer mode, like watching the thoughts go by.
Exactly. Imagine your mind as a giant movie screen, constantly playing scenes of thoughts and emotions. Often we get so absorbed in the story that we forget we're merely watching it unfold. But by activating your observer mode, you intentionally shift your attention from that mental chaos, the movie playing out, to the stable ground of your present senses.
Grounding yourself in the present.
Yes. Simple anchoring practices, like gently focusing on the rhythm of your breath, actively listening to the sounds around you, or noticing the physical sensations in your body, perhaps the feeling of your feet on the ground or your back against a chair, help you come back to the present moment.
Things you can always access. Breath, sounds, body.
Always available. And this is far more than just a calming ritual. It's a powerful neurobiological retraining tool. Every time you consciously shift your attention this way, you send a clear signal to your brain that it no longer needs to be in fight or flight mode.
You're signaling safety to the nervous system.
You are quite literally teaching it how to feel safe again, building new habits of attention, and actively shaping a more flexible, more resilient nervous system.
Building that resilience muscle, neurologically.
On the flip side of this, our brain's protective instincts, while well-meaning, often lead us to avoidance. We can think of this as engaging a pain-numbing strategy.
Trying to avoid discomfort. We all do that.
Absolutely. This strategy offers tantalizing short-term relief from discomfort, but almost always comes at a significant long-term cost. By carefully mapping these avoidance behaviors, we can truly see their full impact.
Mapping them out.
Yeah.
How does that work?
You identify the trigger, what sets it off, then the avoidance behavior itself, the immediate short-term consequences, like feeling safe or relieved for a fleeting moment, and then you zoom out to understand the often unseen long-term consequences.
Okay, trigger, behavior, short-term, long-term.
For example, if you feel anxious about a social gathering, that's the trigger, it might lead to staying home and watching Netflix, the avoidance behavior. The short-term consequence might be feeling safe and avoiding immediate anxiety.
Makes sense. Relief.
But the long-term consequence could be feeling increasingly isolated, missing valuable connections with friends, and unfortunately reinforcing the belief that social settings are inherently dangerous, thus deepening that avoidance loop and making it harder next time.
Oof. Yeah, the long-term cost can be really high.
It often is. Another incredibly helpful tool, particularly when distress seems to come out of nowhere, is creating a symptom loop diagram.
Symptom loop diagram. For when it's not just thoughts.
Right. Not all distress starts with a clear thought. Sometimes it begins with a physical sensation, a pervasive ache, chronic fatigue, or a persistent knot of anxiety in your stomach. These symptoms might seem to appear out of thin air, but they're often part of a deeply well-rehearsed protective pattern your system has developed.
So mapping out how sensations, thoughts, and actions link together in a cycle.
Precisely. By mapping these recurring cycles of sensations, thoughts, and subsequent responses, you transform something murky, overwhelming, and seemingly unchangeable into something observable, knowable, and crucially, eventually changeable. This very act of observing turns you from being caught in the storm of symptoms systems to stepping into the role of a skilled navigator of your internal experience.
Taking it from overwhelming fog to a map you can read.
Beautifully put. Ultimately, the most profound shift comes down to this powerful equation: reframing plus compassion, neural safety.
Reframing plus compassion equals neural safety. Unpack that a bit.
When you respond to your internal distress, whether it's a difficult thought, an uncomfortable emotion, or a challenging physical sensation, not with judgment or panic or self-criticism, but with genuine kindness and understanding, like you would offer to a frightened child or a dear friend.
Treating yourself with kindness, basically.
Yeah, self-compassion. When you do that, you send an incredibly powerful signal of safety directly to your nervous system. This allows your brain to shift from a state of chronic vigilance, where it's constantly scanning for threats, to a state of calm alertness.
So compassion actually calms the nervous system down.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
You're providing what your system may never have consistently received, and this compassionate presence actively helps your nervous system learn new, more adaptive, and ultimately more resilient ways of responding to discomfort and the inevitable challenges of life. It's an act of deep self-care that reshapes your internal landscape.
Okay, so this is where it all comes together. We've talked about these powerful internal shifts, the tools for observation, diffusion, self-compassion, but how do we actually translate this into consistent, values-driven action in our daily lives? Because the research and experience tells us that while change isn't just possible, it's actually expected, it absolutely requires consistency and pacing. It can't be a one-time heroic effort, right?
Exactly right. Consistency and pacing are key. Your fast brain, or System 1, which we talked about, doesn't actually love change.
The survival engineer wants predictability.
Precisely. It's wired for survival, predictability, and safety, even if that means clinging to patterns that are outdated or unhelpful simply because they are known. This is precisely why gradual, repeated changes are so critical.
Small steps again.
Small, consistent shifts, practiced diligently over a period of 12 to 20 weeks, which, fascinatingly, is the time frame studies in both cognitive behavioral therapy and neuroscience often show for solidifying new neural patterns signal to your entire system. This is safe. We can trust this.
12 to 20 weeks, so a few months of consistent effort to really cement things.
That seems to be a realistic time frame for significant rewiring. This gentle but persistent approach allows your nervous system to adjust and your brain to update its wiring without triggering those internal alarms and resistance.
Okay, so slow and steady wins the race, neurologically speaking.
It really does. Trying to change too much, too fast, can actually backfire spectacularly, leading to a sense of deep overwhelm or immediate retreat back to old habits.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that. Go too hard, burn out, give up.
It's very common. But steady, consistent practice over a few months allows your nervous system to genuinely adjust and your brain to update its internal maps without triggering those primal alarms. This leads to what we call your willingness hierarchy.
Willingness hierarchy, like steps of difficulty.
Exactly. This isn't about grand, terrifying leaps into the unknown. It's your step-by-step plan for gradually facing discomfort in the service of your values. It turns what might feel like overwhelming mountains of fear into manageable hiking trails.
Nice metaphor.
By connecting small, brave actions directly to your deepest values, when you connect a small, courageous step, like having a difficult but necessary conversation or trying a new exercise despite feeling a bit nervous, to something that genuinely matters to you, it transforms that action from something you have to do into something you choose to do, infusing it with profound purpose.
So the why fuels the willingness to face the what.
Perfectly said. This framework also brilliantly reframes fear as your compass.
Fear as a compass. How so?
Instead of viewing fear as an enemy to be conquered or a weakness to be hidden or overcome, you begin to see it as valuable information about what truly matters most to you. Often, what we fear losing or messing up points directly to what we value.
So the fear highlights the value underneath.
Exactly. Choosing to move toward your values, even when discomfort or fear tags along for the ride, and it often will actively teaches your brain that some discomfort actually means you're moving in the right direction. It's a signal of growth, not necessarily danger.
Learning to tolerate discomfort for something meaningful.
Think of it like using a challenge card metaphor. When that monster voice, that loud, tangled stream of self-doubt, criticism, or what-if scenarios tries to pull you back into old patterns.
The thought dictator again.
Yeah, that one. The challenge card is your portable, ever-present reminder that you have options. You can notice the voice, thank it for trying to protect you, and then choose your values-driven action anyway. Each conscious choice you make to act on your values instead of merely reacting to fear literally builds a courage habit in your brain.
Building a courage habit. I like that.
Your brain learns that it has other, more effective and more fulfilling responses available than just avoidance or shutting down.
And as you consistently practice these new ways of being, something truly profound happens. Your identity begins to shift, almost imperceptibly at first, but powerfully over time.
How does that work? How does identity shift?
Well, your brain actively updates its map of who you are based on your new actions. When you consciously take daily actions that are connected to meaningful outcomes, your brain releases dopamine.
Dopamine again. The reward chemical.
Yes. This incredible neurochemical doesn't just make you feel good. It literally strengthens the neural pathways for values-based behavior. You're essentially rewarding yourself at a cellular level for aligning with your deepest purpose.
So your brain reinforces the you that acts on your values.
Exactly. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about your brain recognizing and powerfully reinforcing the authentic, values-driven person you're becoming through your actions. It's truly a bottom-up biological confirmation of your evolving self.
Wow. That's deep. Your actions literally shape who you become neurologically.
This leads beautifully into the concept of integration. It means weaving these new beneficial patterns into the very fabric of your daily life, rather than treating them as separate, special activities you only do occasionally.
Not just meditating for 10 minutes, but living it throughout the day.
Precisely. The most powerful and lasting rewiring happens not just during formal practice sessions, but in the myriad micro moments throughout your day when you apply these skills to real situations.
Like in the middle of a stressful meeting or a difficult conversation.
Exactly. For example, consciously softening tension in your shoulders during a difficult conversation, or gently redirecting self-critical thoughts with kindness. These micro practices continuously reinforce those new neural networks you're building. This gradual, organic integration leads to a powerful sense of internal cooperation between different parts of your psyche, where even the parts that once seemed to be working against you begin to collaborate harmoniously towards your greater well-being.
Moving from internal conflict to internal cooperation.
Of course, lasting change is rarely, if ever, linear, and we absolutely must acknowledge setbacks and plateaus.
Oh yeah, the messy reality of change.
You'll have days when old patterns feel stronger, more insistent than new ones. You'll encounter situations that trigger responses you honestly thought you'd move beyond. And you'll inevitably go through periods where progress feels stalled, like you're simply treading water.
It's not a failure though, right? It's just part of it.
Absolutely not failure. This is a vital, normal, and even informative part of the process. Old patterns don't disappear entirely. They're like old roads that are still there, perhaps overgrown, but navigable. But every time you notice what's happening, there's that old thought again, or oops, slipped into avoidance there, and respond with curiosity instead of shame.
Curiosity, not judgment.
You're further reinforcing the new pathway. You're telling your brain, we don't need to panic when this happens. We're simply learning, adapting. This concept is what we call recoverability, not toughness.
Recoverability. I like that distinction.
It's about your gentle capacity to get back on track after a wobble, rather than striving for perfect, unwavering performance. It's about building a truly resilient, adaptable system, one small, conscious act at a time.
Building resilience through gentle persistence and self-compassion.
What a deep dive this has been. We've truly explored how a holistic approach combining consistent physical activity, especially building leg strength, fostering social connection, cultivating curiosity and creativity, engaging mindfully with your internal world through NeuroFlex ACT, and embracing smart, brain-healthy nutrition all work in concert.
It really is a symphony, like you said earlier. All the parts matter.
They don't just support. They actively build and maintain cognitive health and remarkable longevity. The core message throughout all of this is profoundly empowering. Your brain's incredible capacity for neuroplasticity means you are never stuck.
Never truly stuck. Change is always possible.
You are an ever-learning system, a perpetually rewiring system. Every conscious choice you make, every small step aligned with your deepest values, is actively reshaping your neural pathways. You are quite literally training your brain to move forward with you, creating a more resilient, vibrant, and fulfilling future for yourself, one conscious act at a time.
Beautifully summarized. It's about agency and consistent effort.
Now, just a reminder for everyone listening, please remember the information shared in this deep dive is for informational purposes only. It's Definitely not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Yeah, that's really important. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional regarding any medical conditions or mental health concerns you might have. This is about education and empowerment, not medical advice.
Exactly. Talk to your doctor, talk to a qualified therapist if needed.
So maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Please.
If your brain is constantly updating itself based on what you choose to do, how you choose to feel, and what you choose to focus on, what small, consistent choice will you make today, maybe even right after listening to this, to begin actively rewriting your own story for a more vibrant tomorrow?
A powerful question to ponder.
And if you want to explore more about these concepts and find some practical tools, you can check out thetherapisthandbook.com. There's a lot more detail and guidance there.
Excellent resource, thetherapisthandbook.com. Thanks so much for sharing all this incredible insight today.
My pleasure. It's fascinating stuff and really hopeful too.